All right, with that said, let's get on with the business of the day. As you all know, 3 o'clock in the month of October, we have introduced a particular feature. It's called the Accountability Corner. And to set the tone for the discussion that's to come, let's give you a sense of what is happening in the Buffalo City Municipality. So high municipal bills, corruption, poor service delivery, and just some of the complaints coming from the residents of Buffalo City Metro. Now, this is in the Eastern Cape. This municipality presides over 2 towns, that's East London and King William's Town, including the surrounding villages. Now, according to the Auditor General's reports over the past years, this metro is struggling to make ends meet, and it is collapsing year on year. Let's have a listen now to Newzroom Afrika's Sipa Kema, who has compiled this report for us.
A place with great potential, boasting quality tourism destinations, but Buffalo City Metro is struggling to live up to its capacity. Roads in the townships and the more affluent suburbs are riddled with potholes. There's also inconsistent refuse collection, leaving the neighborhoods filthy. Just like this municipality-owned residential building in one of the oldest suburbs in East London, Cambridge. The elderly occupants say they feel unsafe as there's no gate and proper fencing. Unsavory characters occupy the corridors at night.
The current issues that we're facing in this place is that it doesn't get cleaned. The dirt does not fetch like it's used. They should come and fetch it. Our windows on the steps are broken. They don't fix it. The rates are being paid by us, but nothing is being done. As rate payers, we don't get services from them. No service from the municipality. They come in here, the only thing they do is take the dirt away, and that's that.
In another part of town, one of the oldest and dangerous informal settlements in East London, Duncan Village. In the past 3 weeks, sewage covered the main road. There are water cuts in BCM, yet these communal taps can't close. Water is left flooding the area. 60-something-year-old Mawande Mkoteni used to live just within those thick bushes with his 2 grandchildren. He's been waiting for a house since 2007. The community of Duncan Village sought to assist him by building him his own structure within this community.
In 2001, silinde isindlu dekwamhlanje basithetha salinde isindlu apha ndihlala nabantwana ababini abanye sebadala bazihambele indawo zabo sihlala nobana andisebenzi andithini ndiphila ngale yabantwana uze nditye apha endlini akho nto ndiyifumanayo andinampilo ndinyangwa ipressure esibhedlele ndinale milenze ndikhathazayo andikafumani nepeyi ndiyayizama ke ndikayifumani bathe ke bawuthetha ugqirha endihamba kubedeyi bathi le milenze yam oogqirha basesasa abamniki umntu ipeyi onehlobo nemenze ngalo ndike le menze yadumba andisasinxiba isihlangu ndinxiba ezilamapecepece kuba kanxiba isihlangu ziyadumba akusekho nto ndiyekwazi uyenza ngoku okokoko ndayifumana le ngxaki le ngo-2005 ayikho right impilo ehlala kuyo phakathi kwalamagali xa kunethayo imvula kunzima apha nangosisala ecani kwetiphu esinukusela apho phakathi endlini nekuvale and uba kuyanetha kunzima uphuma mna because le milenze ayidibani namanzi iyaqaqamba ndinezo ngxaki apho sinabo iithoyilethi zilezikawonke-wonke asikwazi uthini uyakwazi uphuma ungathoyilethanga uhambe uyocela ebantwini kwezo ehostele oba mawuzincede impilo esihlala kuyo apha kosekhele inzima kakhulu mama nale tiphu inuka umhla nezolo etiphu le uba ngaba uvule icango apha uyatya apha kunzima nekuvale elo cango uze utye kunzima kule ndawo sihlala kuyo akumnandanga sinyamezele ke neengcungcuni zenza loo nto sinyamezele ukuba akakho nto sawuyenza silinde kwabasemagunyeni basincede.
Even those living in lush suburbs such as Gunubi are lamenting the poor services. As a result, some of the residents pay out of their own pockets to maintain the public area. The potholes, a nightmare.
We have problems, a big problem with potholes here. And number two, you can look at this grass here. It gets cut privately. Please, how can they have that the grass must be cut privately when it should be done by BCM?
BCM councillors are consistently under the spotlight for corruption, fraud, mismanagement of funds. Former Executive Mayor Zukiswa Ncitha is embroiled in the late former President Nelson Mandela's funeral fraud case. Recently, 2 councillors were arrested by the Hawks for defrauding the municipality of food vouchers meant for the indigent. The urban areas, suburbs and townships are all in the same boat as far as poor service provision is concerned. Most of the people in the rural parts of this metro can only but dream of having the basics. For Newzroom Afrika, Channel 405, I'm Sipa Kema in East London.
Right, let's get into this discussion now. So as you've seen in that story, Buffalo City in the Eastern Cape is a sprawling metropolis composed of big times, or should I say big towns, as a way of reminding you. So you have East London, which is part of this municipality. You have Bisho and King Williamstown. Now, these include some large townships such as Umdanzane and the townships like Zwelicha. Key economic activities include the automobile sector, the textile industry, and the East London Industrial Development Zone, And these are just some of the key attributes of this municipality. Now, key political parties, and including independent candidates, are vying to take over this municipality. And we are going to be joined in a moment by the executive mayor of the Buffalo City municipality, that's Mr. Xola Phakathi. He is going to be part of this discussion. We also are joined by the DA MP, that's Chantel King, and we also are going to be joined by Mr. Vusumuzi Dudu. They are going to be joining us in just a moment. Let's have a listen here first. All right, let's get into the discussion now. You're watching the Accountability Corner. Let me introduce my guest, Mr. Phakathi. Are you there? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you, Oli, and to the viewers at home.
All right. Very good afternoon to you, Mr. Mayor. Let me introduce also Ms. King. Are you there? Chantel King?
Good afternoon, Kulani. Yes, I'm here. And good afternoon to the listeners as well.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. And we also have Mr. Vusumuzi Dudu joining us on the line because the picture is not good. Mr. Dudu, are you there?
Yes, I'm checking out in the corner.
All right. Nkosibawo, thank you very much. All right, Mr. Mayor, let me start the discussion with you. As usual on this show, we give the mayor the chance to basically tell us where the municipality has been over the last 5 years. If you were to score yourself out of a rate of 0 to 10, where would you place yourself in the running of this municipality?
Thank you very much once again, Oli. If I were to rate myself from 0 to 10, I would rate myself at 8.
Tell us the reasons for that.
Well, we have done a lot of work in terms of the rolling out of the infrastructure. From 2016 to 2021, we have built new roads. We have surfaced those who needed to be surfaced. We have exceeded our target of building housing units of 8,000 to 8,900. So we have built water treatment works. So we have done a lot. We have extended water supply to the villages where there was none before. We have also extended electricity provision to informal settlements. And we have built bridges where there was none. So we have done a lot in the past 5 years in terms of maintaining the existing infrastructure, but also extending the new infrastructure to communities that did not have.
All right. Ms. King, can I come to you? And if you were to rate the mayor, he's rated himself 8 out of 10. I wonder whether you agree with that score. Where would you put him?
I definitely don't agree. When I was a councillor in 2016, there were a lot of promises made and research made. Coming back to the city, I would definitely rate the mayor at 4. We see that our town has deteriorated, our city, when it comes to how filthy it is. It is a sore eye when we want to attract investment into this metro, which is a big, big challenge, and also one that is taking investment away from the city is the increasing tariff charges that this municipality has introduced, the billing system that is flawed, which has seen businesses crumbling because of the billing system, and not only to the COVID pandemic, which has also exacerbated the city. What we do see is we've seen a lot of stalled projects with multiple contractors benefiting from the same contract. We've seen suppliers that have not been paid as of yet in some of these contracts. And yet recently, we've also seen that our rubbish is not collected. Designer light contracts was not renewed. So we've got quite a few contracts that has not been renewed. And we've got quite a few infrastructure challenges. I hear the mayor say that they fix a lot, but that is probably just 5% of what has been fixed compared to what the city has been going through under the ANC, and also the fact that their income and revenue has decreased over the years because of the collection rate that is stalled, and also because there is no political will to ensure that the city and the residents are put first. It has always been a factional infight in the ANC, and then that is why our city has been suffering over the past 5 years.
Yeah, all right. Let's come to you, Mr. Vusumuzi Tutu. You are with the AIC. Give us your rating of the mayor of Buffalo City and the administration he has run for the past 5 years. 0 to 10, what do you give him, and what is your reason?
Thank you very much, Shadazwan. The mayor, I will rate him at 6. I can give him 6 points.
Okay.
Yeah, reason why I say there is a lot that has been done in this 5 years term.
Okay.
And there is still a lot to be done. But my worry is the term has ended. There are a lot of things that we have resolution on as a council. But because of lack of management, the problem with the DCM, as councillors, we can agree on something. But the managers, they don't do their business. There is no implementation. Here in Mdantsane, there is a pool in N2 that has been renovated. As a child, I was swimming in that pool from N1. I'm a bit worried that now the term has ended and the job has not been finished. I was thinking that that pool is going to be open while we were still in the council. So there is a lack of accountability. If we talk about the villages, the DCM has no plans. I am hearing the mayor talking about water. I'm staying in Ngahuni, outside east of Tanzania. Yes, there are taps there, but there is no water. The taps have no water. The mayor is saying, yes, we have put water where there is no water. They are taps, but they are just like pictures because there is no water. Imagine that Nahuni is near by the Nahun Dam. It's a Nahun Dam just in their village. But there is no water in their taps.
All right.
Whereas Nahun supplies whole Tanzania and town.
All right.
And if we talk about housing, I'm staying in Tanzania. Tanzania was built in 1962. Yes, NU1, NU2, and other. But the problem I have, NU2 was 42. There is no implementation, there is no houses built there for the whole 5 years.
All right, Baututu, let me do this. Let me do this, Baututu. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Let me take a break. You seem to have lots of issues that you say are not being fulfilled by this municipality. We're going to have time to come back to you. So let's pause there for a moment and take a break. When we return, we're going to pick up on the issue of water. It seems to be a running theme throughout the municipalities that we have been looking at.
Our biggest concern around BCM in terms of service delivery, especially in Ganubi, it's mostly potholes. We are driving in holes actually and can't regard it as potholes. Yeah, I think that's my biggest concern here.
Ingxaki esinayo silale Silvertown, NU1, kwayakho igarage. Asifumane delivery, service delivery, umbane, oko sasilinde umbane since from 2016. Asine-toilets ngoku zethu, sinengxaki, asisasebenzi. Asinayo nendlela kulaa magala sihlala kuwo.
All right, so those are just some of the views of the residents of the Buffalo City Municipality. In this conversation, we do have the Executive Mayor, Mr. Xola Phakathi, and we also have the DAMPL, Chantal King. Also with us in this conversation is Mr. Vusumuzi Tutu. He is a councillor with the AIC. Mr. Mayor, let's come back to you. Your city, we are told that it has great potential in terms of tourism destinations, in terms of other, economic nodes, if you like. But there are pressing issues, Mr. Mayor. Let's just start with the water issues that Mr. Tutu raised. You are also surrounded by villages, and it is important that you look after your residents who live in villages. What is the plan? He says you don't have a water plan.
Well, actually, the statement is not entirely true. Mr. Tutu is the councillor in the city, and as such, he is aware that 98% of the people of Buffalo City have access to water. Only 2% of the people of the city do not have access to water and sanitation. And what we do with the 2%, we have water tankers that are delivering water to the villages where there is no running water. So the statement is not entirely true.
Mr. Mayor, let me quickly interject there. Let me quickly interject there and say to you that when you are going to say water tankers are there to provide clean drinking water for residents who cannot open taps, that you cannot put forward as some kind of solution. That is an indication of failure because it tells you that there is no plan. Perhaps Mr. Tutu does have a point, because if you had a plan, surely you'd be talking to us about piping that is currently being undertaken to provide or to make sure that those areas that don't have water ultimately will have water?
No, Polly, I have accepted that we have 2% of the community of Buffalo City that does not have access to running water. And we are in the process of providing water for those communities. But what we do in the immediate is to provide water through the tankers so that our people can have access to clean water.
All right.
And this is what we do on a daily basis.
So what's the timeline?
You can then say that is not a solution because water is being provided there.
What's the timeline then, Mr. Mayor, for these residents who don't have running water in their taps, for them to actually have access to those to water?
We have a water project called Amahlege Water Scheme, which is currently piping rural communities. So the work is ongoing, is work in progress. But the completion of that project may run up until April next year, because there are many villages that are linked to the scheme. So this is where we are.
All right, Ms. King, are you aware of this water project that the mayor is talking about? And based on your calculations as people who are part of the council, do you think that the deadline is going to be met?
We were not really informed of this project that the mayor is talking about. Obviously, we've seen that the stalled projects, when it comes to the Buffalo City, it will take up to 2 to 3 years just to get a simple project in place. If you even go onto the website of Buffalo City, you will not find a water conservancy and a water demand plan, which is something that we have been advocating for. It is also what we've then, when we decided to set up our own manifesto for Buffalo City to work on critical infrastructure development and repairs, we then decided to put up our own water conservancy and water demand plan, which we will hand to the mayor so that they can implement it. We don't need a DA's name on it. We just need them to implement it to ensure that we raise awareness, because currently awareness is being raised in areas where you won't find a lot of water losses. But awareness is not really being raised in areas like Umdansani, Duncan Village, Parkside, Pefferville, where you will find a lot of water losses. Studies have shown that we are losing about 40% of our water due to our aging infrastructure. And that is the main challenge, because in Buffalo City, we've lost over the past 5 years a lot of the qualified and skilled engineers to sort out our water crisis and to mitigate against water losses. So that is what we need to do when we step in. Make sure that we see and have a skills audit on how qualified is the workforce of the city, and to ensure that I find the skills to the right departments in order to ensure that we our infrastructure and better service delivery to the people of Buffalo City. We've seen cadre deployment destroying what we have left. So that is what needs as a matter of urgency. The council have gone to KZN in the 5 years. They've even gone to Cape Town to go and see what we have been doing in terms of desalination. Yet those good practices that they get, they don't come and implement what they find and make sure that we should have generated enough capacity to ensure that we can service people with water, clear our dams, which is not being cleared because it's still full of silt, work with Amatola water, work with universities and with the CSIR in order to come up with a strategy to ensure that we have proper plans in place to avoid day zero, which is really facing us in the eyes as we are speaking.
Sure. Day zero, that word or that phrase, day zero, it's a scary phrase, I've got to tell you. All right, let me do this. Because I know Mr. Tutu is going to have lots to add. Let me take a break quickly now so that when I come back, I go straight to Mr. Tutu. We're going to continue with the conversation in just a moment.
We have problems, a big problem with potholes here. And number two, you can look at this grass here. It gets cut privately. Please, how can they have that the grass must be cut privately when it should be done by BCM?
I'm from East London in Brayland. My issue is our high water bills we're struggling with recently. And I think the municipality, from this new water meters they install, The whole East London, Buffalo City, is struggling with this high meter readings, and every month our bills is very high. But if it comes to service delivery, I'm satisfied. I don't have a problem with it.
You're watching the Accountability Corner. In focus this week, it is the Buffalo City Municipality, and as part of the panel, the Mayor of Buffalo City is part of this discussion. We also have the DA's Chantal King and the AIC's Chief Whip within the council, Mr. Vusumuzi Tutu. Baututu, let me pick up with you. You said that the Mayor had no plans to provide water, particularly for the rural residents. Well, he has told us about the Amahleke water project. He says that's the project that is going to provide water. Are you satisfied? Are you aware of this plan or project?
I have a problem with the mayor. In the Buffalo City, water is a problem. Whether you are in urban, whether you are in rural. In Dankane, the pipes of the water that are running water are over. You go to a tap, there's a white water which is coming. The water of Dankane is not clean. People are going to be sick. The officials that are working in water works at municipal places, they don't drink this water. They buy water. And the people that are doing that, they buy water instead of drinking the water. I must go to the rural area. In the rural area, not only people who must drink water, they are animals. There is no plan for the municipality to clean the dams where the animals are drinking. The traditional leaders were advocating, speaking now and again about the cleaning of dams, which was to clean in 6 months' time when the rain comes, because the dams are full of mud. The mud is full of mud. There is no plan. When there was a disaster, I think a year ago or two, we had a problem with the water in the DSTV. I don't know about the Amahleke project. I know the Amahleke traditional authority, but I don't know who should say that. The projects are happening, but I think the here is there and there.
Let me do this.
No, they don't come to the council.
All right. Let me do this, Mr. Tutu. Your signal is not very good. I don't know whether you have moved in the last few minutes, but your signal suddenly is not very stable. I'm going to ask you to try and move around. And while you do that, Mr. Mayor, let's quickly come to you. I want to move on from the issue of water, but I can't not pick up on what Chantal said, and that is that day zero is upon this municipality. Is that a fact?
Well, I wouldn't really actually know what day zero is. We have not arrived at that point as a council. All what I can say to you is that we are in a drought situation currently as the city because of the scarcity of rain. Remember, for water to happen, there has to be rain. And no one predicts when rain is going to fall or not to fall.
Well, Mr. Mayor, let me tell you about the issue. Let me tell you about the story of drought. We have interviewed a number of people on this station, particularly experts, water experts, and they've said droughts are a phenomenon that is not only unique to South Africa. It's the world over. It's got to do with planning. So you can't blame drought for day zero that Chantal is talking about. It's got to do with planning.
Can I explain to you? I don't
Please
know
go ahead.
what I wouldn't really pretend as if I know what day zero is. What I can say to you is that we have had a discussion as a city around the issue of drought, and we're looking at a number of areas of interventions. Remember, the issue of water is not only a matter for the city. There is a Department of Water and Sanitation, but also there are water authorities, water boards. What we do is reticulation. Now, we are working with those departments in order to ensure that we develop a long-term sustainable plan, including the possibility of desalination that Chantel spoke about as part of the process going forward.
All right.
Now, we have also sensitized the people of Buffalo City about the scarcity of water, to the extent that the council has resolved that as we implement our punitive water tariff, we must also mobilize people to ensure that they save water and they don't waste water. And there are plans in place to engage communities in that regard.
Quickly before
we are aware of that situation and we're handling it.
All right. Quickly before I move on to Chantel, the collection of refuse, Mr. Mayor, it's been described as intermittent. It happens one day and sometimes it doesn't happen. So the streets are filthy. The grass, one of the residents there says it is cut privately and is questioning why it is not cut by the municipality. Potholes are all over the place. What is being done about those three issues? Very briefly.
Well, what is unfortunate with your approach is that the focus is on the issues that we have not done, but there is nothing on the issues that we have done. But nevertheless, we are addressing the question of potholes through a comprehensive program of the overlay of streets so that we deal with the matter. The second issue is what was the next issue?
The other issue, refuse removal, yes.
We are on schedule in terms of collection, Polly. However, sometimes it happens that our trucks break down, and as and when our trucks break down, we hire trucks from the private operators so that we can be able to meet our obligation to the citizens of the city.
Grass cutting?
Well, there's a dedicated team that does grass cutting, but because now it's summer and there's more rainfall, you are likely to have the growth of grass happening rapidly.
All right. Ms. King, are you addressed properly or satisfactorily?
Definitely not. You know, when it comes to the refuse removal, just recently on the website of BCM, they've put out a notice that the contract has finished. Then they backtracked to say no, that they're back on schedule. It was a truck issue. Like I previously said, the concern that we have with refuse collection is that most of the contracts were not renewed. So they were not even planning even for the private providers to have their contracts renewed, which actually created the dumping in our areas. But also the law enforcement, which is not actually on board when it comes to enforcing punitive tariffs to people that are illegally dumping. We've seen illegal dumping sites all over the city. But the reason why we have illegal dumping sites, the mayor also knows that most of our landfill sites are not licensed. I think in the city we only have one landfill site where people have to drive for miles just to go and secure that the refuse is being dumped properly. So that is the major concern, that most of our refuse sites were closed. We've got a bigger citizenship in the city, but there is no way where we can dispose of our landfill, of our waste material. There's no plan in place for recycling at source. There's no plans in place where we can renew some of those waste into energy, which we so desperately need in the city. When it comes to the grass cutting, I personally have an experience when you phone and you would find that we are being told that the grass cutting machines are not working. It's still waiting for to be repaired. They don't have TLBs. Most of the time, TLBs are through private contractors, just to have bush clearing to happen in the city, which is very dangerous, especially for us as women. When you see overgrown grass and with this curfew, and you have to wake up early in the morning and go to work, and the city has not even cleared the grass in our area. You will only see grass cutting all of a sudden happening now when it's becoming close to elections, which raises the questions, if you are capable to do it now, you were capable to do it for the past 5 years. When it comes to potholes, you find residents have now resorted to actually sort out their own potholes in the area. But the potholes should have been sorted within the municipality and in the wards with the EPWP program. Because EPWP program, what the main concern to me is that these young children are not linked into a skill set with CETAs where they can sell back their skills to the city in order for the city to have a team that consistently deal with the potholes per ward in the area. And you do have ward-based budgeting for it, but it is not happening. In most cases, it is being diverted for other stuff.
All right. Mr. Tutu, can I come to you next? I think we've had you on hold because of the unstable line. If you are back on, talk to me about corruption. At least the most outrageous that South Africans have heard about is the case that is currently before courts, and that is the Nelson Mandela funeral funds scandal. The former mayor of Buffalo City is actually going through court cases along with 12 others on this matter. How would you say, or where would you say corruption is in as far as Buffalo City is concerned?
Thank you, Chaka. Corruption in Buffalo City, it is like a cancer. There are people who use Mandela funeral to get money. They are still there. They are still councillors. If you talk about the former mayor, you talk about the former premier, whereby 250,000 was in his bank. He puts it in his bank, then he gives it back. It is like a toll. Corruption in Buffalo City, more especially for the ruling party. I believe that if you want to be somewhere in a ruling party, you graduate when you are corrupt. I don't want to mention names. There are people in parliament, national parliament, who were former mayors, who were found guilty of corruption, but there's nothing had happened. So corruption is killing our people. It's a cancer. There is nothing that kills people in our country like corruption.
All right.
So that's what I can say. Corruption is too bad in Buffalo City, in all spheres of the government.
Would you say that corruption, Mr. Tutu, has continued under the watch of the current mayor, Mr. Pagat?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because what I can say, there are officials whom are accused of corruption. There are people whom they are fired from the municipality, supply chain. I don't want to mention names, but it is there in the media. There are people whom, when Mayor Kola Pagati was leading us, they were there corrupt. They were there, they are managers whom the council had to take a stand, and they were fired from the municipality. It had happened in front of him. He knows. It is unfortunate because some are related to the ANC. People whom are managers there. The only problem, they were councillors and they became managers, employed by the... now, how can you take a person accountable who is your chommy? How can you take a person accountable who is your comrade? That's the only problem with the BCF. They are employing managers who are their comrades, paid their deployment, all sort of things. So there is no accountability. It has happened in front of Mayor Buffalo City. I was there for 5 years. I've got names, I've got people whom I know who were corrupt.
All right.
And people were talking about it, and everybody knows, even Daily Dispatch and other media, they know who is corrupt in the PCF.
Okay.
Their work is sold. They are selling work to other people.
Mr. Phakathi, on the score of corruption, what have you done to clean up?
Well, you are aware that our organization, the African National Congress, is in the process of renewal, and it has pronounced itself on numerous occasions on corruption. And our stand as the municipality, as an ANC-led council, we are in line with that. Now, on the issue of the Nelson Mandela scandal that you mentioned, Koli, as well as the issues that Mr. Tutu was raising, we have acted on this by firing the general manager of supply chain, who was implicated in the public protector's report on the matter. We have also fired the CFO, who was also implicated in the Nelson Mandela scandal. And that has happened under our stewardship as the current council.
What have you done to recover the funds?
I don't understand when it is said that we have not acted on the matter, when in fact we have subjected these officials to the due process of discipline and to the extent of dismissing them.
Regarding the monies that were stolen under your predecessor, Zuge Swangita, have any attempts been made by the municipality to recover those funeral funds?
When that matter is sub judice because it is before the courts, we will then make that determination at that point.
Okay. All right.
Insofar as acting on the officials, we have acted on that under my stewardship.
Okay. Before I move on to Chantel, there was some story about someone who said that they were your son and they were employed in this municipality. Are you aware of that story? Is it true? Please, will you dispel that here right now?
Well, there is no truth in that. That was just politicking.
Okay. Chantel, you've heard on the story around corruption. Are you, as the opposition, satisfied that the mayor has done his part to try and clean up corruption?
Not really satisfied. I do know from our side, as the Democratic Alliance, we've been pushing very hard, especially in the Ethics Committee and in the MPEX Committee, to have them take corruption seriously. The MPEC has been frustrated with cases being brought to them, but nothing happens because there's no political will to actually push that these cases be taken serious and court cases be brought against them. What we also found that we had ANC councillors when it came to the COVID pandemic and the relief packages for ward that the municipality availed, where we saw the Ward 10 councillor that was implicated, the Hawks investigation into the matter of various councillors who misused that 30 million rand for their own personal gain and not benefiting the people. So those are also issues that was not even taken seriously, even though it was raised in council on numerous occasions. We also saw when it came to the funeral saga, where we had the former mayor and the one who became a health MEC of the province, who was promoted from council into higher positions, thinking that this would die down. We also had a previous former mayor who committed corruption, who was almost made the chairperson of the Basic Education Portfolio Committee up until we raised it. So that is how the ANC is serious in dealing with these matters. They promote people who are implicated in crime. They are not taking people to account for their actions and recovering the funds that is there. I mean, the Auditor General report also indicates the slow pace of recovering funds, and it also indicates the HR situation that we sit with, that people can be 3, 4, 5 years on a suspended sentence with pay up until the matter is sorted. So those are the issues that has not been dealt with. We've put in petitions. The petition committee hardly sits. It only sits once, which means it has failed the people also who has raised these issues. Court cases is unheard of, and you will find that the ANC would defend their own comrades because somehow, somewhere along the line, somebody has got a hand in it. So up until there's a political world that where not only officials are being fired, but also politicians are being taken to jail, we will never take the ANC serious.
Mr. Tutu, as a final word from you, apart from the fact that you, as opposition parties, what mostly you do is complain, on a practical level, what is it that you think you can do to try and stop what you have described as corruption that has become a cancer in BCM?
The councillors are there to lead. A councillor is a leader. A manager is there to manage. For me, as the AIC, if we can be given a chance, people can vote for us. We believe that we'll be employing managers whom qualify to be managers, not to employ a cadre member or your friend.
All right, I'm out of time. I'm out of time, Mr. Tutu, so let's pause there with you. Mr. Mayor, very briefly, your last comments. What is it that you are going to do as members of the ANC, as leaders of the ANC at a regional level, to make sure that councillors who have been implicated in corruption are not recycled after November 1?
You know, corruption is not a matter for politicking. You can't come to a TV show and say you have evidence of corruption without you doing what is right. Because you should take your evidence to the law enforcement agencies and report this so that they can be brought to book. And we are committed to clean administration as the African National Congress, and we will continue with the trajectory of a clean administration as we have done in the past, in this current term of 2016-2021.
All right.
From there up until now, we have not had a case of corruption from the political leadership of the institution. So whoever is having evidence or contrary to what I'm presenting here, the law enforcement agencies are there for them to go and report.
All right, Ms. King, I see you chuckling a bit when it comes to the mayor talking tough on corruption, but you as the Democratic Alliance, what is it that you can do in the opposition benches to put a stop to corruption?
Well, I'm not going to even talk about opposition benches. I'm going to talk about when we take over. I think we had enough of the ANC destroying our city. What we will do, as we've always been doing where we've governed and we govern well, is to make sure that we hold people accountable. If people need to go to jail for wrongdoing, then it should be like that. But we need to first start by making sure that we've got the right people in place who understand their job to avoid this. We need to have ward-based assessment on a quarterly basis to ensure that councillors know what they are doing and are not involved in corrupt activities. But most importantly, we need to have a closer eye on our finances and our risk mitigation measures in order to ensure that we have proper control measures in place for when anything has to happen. We should be well ahead of in how to sort this matter out. In the ANC Buffalo City-led councils, we have seen that even the oppositions like the AIC, like any of the smaller political parties, siding 99% of the time with the ANC. So I find it also very funny that the AIC can come here and say that they will do this in order to ensure that corruption is so. Where yet they are also the ones who are with the ANC to ensure that at the end of the day, certain matters are going through all the violence that are not actually following proper procedures are going through, and later on you will find that we sit in this situation.
All right.
So no, when we take over, we will definitely make sure that we have a zero tolerance to corruption.
Well, I can't not give Mr. Tutu a right of reply. Mr. Tutu, very quickly, you are being accused here of aiding and abetting corruption, and yet you come here and you cry corruption.
Plekazi, we are in the BCM. The DA is lying. I agree with the ANC to disagree. The DA, when there is a program that's coming to the black people, the people of Tanzania, they always against.
All right.
If it is a sport, if it is a program, I agree when the people of Tanzania need to have something.
Okay, Mr. Tutu, I'm out of time. I needed to give you a right of reply. Unfortunately, I can't give you a whole minute. Well, thank you to all my panelists on the focus on the Buffalo City Municipality. Thank you very much. You have been watching the Accountability Corner.